Yep. Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start up here. Now that the formal town board meeting has adjourned, the town board will remain to listen to the comments of the residents. I have a number of residents signed in, and we could start off with Felix Bercacci. Oh.
Well, you take the other one.
No, wait, hold on, Felix, hold on. Lori, did I get you, Lori? I did get you, Lori, right? Did you good? I remember, I said I have you number one. Come on up, Lori. Hi, how you doing? Just give me name and address for the record.
Okay, Lori Tan, Clubhouse Road in Merrick.
Okay.
Okay. On Clubhouse Road and the adjoining streets, there's an open space. I've lived here 45 years, and nothing's allowed there. There's no ball playing, no dogs, no golf, no breathing. I don't know what it's for, okay? Since the pandemic, people have come, they were closed up in their houses. Nobody could see anybody. And we've been walking around, walking our dogs, and we've been meeting in this open space. Everybody there, I've never met half of them before, and now we have a community. We get together maybe a half hour in the morning, maybe a half hour at night. In between, some people come in and out. Everybody cleans up after their dog, but more important, it's a gathering place for the neighborhood. People get to meet each other, get to talk, see a friendly face. Hi, how are you? When you were cooped up in the house all the time. It was safe, it was outside. So the other day, for a couple of weeks, they came and they used to lock the gates at night because kids would go in there and drink and leave beer bottles. And in the morning at 8 o'clock, they would open it up again. A couple of weeks ago, the town started locking the gates open so we couldn't go in there with our dogs because the dogs would run out. Or if people had their children or their grandchildren there playing and running around and not playing organized ball or anything, the kids would run out the gate and could get hit by a car because people on Clubhouse do not stop at stop signs. They go 40, 50 miles an hour, and it becomes a hazard. Last week, because somebody's complaining that lives near there, they took the gates off the whole park or open space. And now it's totally dangerous. And we've stood there, and then the other day a commissioner or somebody came by and said, if you guys go in there with your dogs, you're going to be getting summonses for $500, $600. I mean, we live here, it's a community, it's a gathering spot for people, especially during this pandemic. And it's ridiculous that we can't go there for an hour or 2 hours totally in the daytime or an hour in the weekend, in the morning and the afternoon, to meet up with people, to say hello, and just socialize that we don't have in our community, especially during a pandemic. And I think it's ridiculous to spend money, the taxpayers' money, to hang signs that say no organized ball playing. That was really important, to take down the no ball playing and put no organized ball playing, and no dogs, no golf, or whatever else they want to put. And I think it's a concern, and we have a lot of people here from our neighborhood who would like to address this.
Okay, like I said, this is the first I heard of it. Perhaps if, Frank, you here? Oh, Frank's here. That's Frank Zangla. He's my Parks Commissioner. I'll ask Frank to meet with you to talk about it. I don't know what it is. We'll take a look at it. Look, if the dog thing can always be a safety issue, so I get it. I have a dog, but I get that some people freak out with dogs because some dogs. So I said, let Frank talk to you. Let's find out what the concern was. Let's find out what the complaints were, and we'll see if we can kind of resolve it in an amicable way. Is that fair enough?
I guarantee you that most of the people that complain are not.
I got you. So Frank's going to go right in the back with you right now. Frank.
Thank you.
Okay.
A couple more people.
By the way, this is what I'll tell you. Just so everybody knows, when you sign up for the administrative calendar, it's your opportunity to talk for 3 minutes. If there are some residents that go in the back with you and are talking to Frank right now, if they want to come back and say something after, we'll flag a couple of names. I'll make sure. But if you go to the back right now, Frank, you promise?
Okay.
Pretty please. All right. So that's Frank. If anybody wants to go back there with Frank, my Parks Commissioner right now and talk about it. He'll be delighted to go in the back of the room.
So this holds our spot to speak later if we come back out?
Maybe if I let, no, it's easy. This is what I'll say. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to go through everybody else that's here. And then if you feel like you want to come back up and talk, we'll send somebody back there to ask individual names that don't respond. Like right now, I'm going to call Francesca Serra. Okay. Okay, how you doing? If you can name an address for the record.
Yes, Francesca Sarah. I live in Huntington. Good evening, town board members and Supervisor Clavin. My name is Francesca Sarah, and I've been a volunteer at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter since 2019. I was also a resident of Wantagh for the past 10 years and just moved. I come from a family that is relatively active in local politics. Anyone who's been around the Republican Party long enough may recognize the name of my late grandfather, Anthony or Tony Durso. Although I didn't inherit a passion for politics, I do have one for animal welfare. I'm here to speak about the shelter's former trainer, Ms. Christy Fanti. I say former because it was exactly 1 week ago today that Ms. Fanti resigned from her position after being repeatedly undermined and disrespected by this administration. You'll be hard-pressed to find a trainer more well-respected by her peers, coworkers, volunteers, and adopters. The shelter's success over the past 6 years is in large part due to Christie's contributions as a devoted trainer. This administration's recent treatment of Ms. Fanti has been abhorrent, to say the least. The need to appease one very loud and litigious critic has gone unchecked for far too long. Your job is to stand up for your constituents, the taxpayers, not to fulfill the endless demands of one person. We are well aware of this so-called animal advocate's unsavory history at the shelter. Never an employee, yet somehow given authority to co-sign on hundreds of euthanasia orders. This is all a matter of public record. Why would you want to align yourselves with someone like that? You, Donald Clavin, have the power to right this wrong and finally offer Ms. Fanti a full-time position. I implore you to be brave and do just that. It is time to stand up and get out from under the thumb of this bully for good. Do the right thing and offer Ms. Fanti the well-deserved full-time position as shelter trainer. You can be sure your constituents won't forget your decision come November.
Thanks for coming. Next, I'm going to go Joe Carol Brodsky. That could be the merit group. We'll come back to that. Lee Brodsky is going to be with the merit group. Karina Weiss. How you doing? If you give me name and address for the record, thanks.
Good evening, Karina Weiss. I live in Hicksville, New York. I've been a Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter volunteer for 6 years now. I've seen Christy Fanti start at her job from day one and go through challenges, difficulties, and changes, but she always had the best interest of the dogs as her priority. I've adopted 3 dogs under her care and leadership, followed by updates. As an adopter, I always received pre- and post-adoption guidance from her, and I succeeded in all adoptions. As a volunteer, I've seen the positive changes and progress made at the shelter with her work and example. That drove us to be a bigger and better team of handlers. Some of the most difficult dogs thrived under her influence, such as Doughboy. I have a question for all members of the board, if I may. Do any of you own any pets?
Ms. Weiss, this is just so everybody, this is a public section comment where we listen to your comments.
If so, you know the importance of a qualified and compassionate professional working with animals. After all, they do become members of our families. I'm here to please ask you to hire Christy Fanti as a full-time trainer at our shelter. TOH is one of the biggest shelters in this nation, and we need to set the example. Make it right. Don't make it about politics. Don't take away the progress that we worked so hard with her. Things you should consider without a qualified trainer behaviorist. First, the cost of not having proper evaluations done, and that could reflect in adoption returns. The cost of keeping animals in the facility with no social skills, meaning more behavioral issues. Animals stuck in the shelter system without the proper training protocols would be more costly than hiring her full-time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Phyllis Federici. How you doing? If you give your name and address for the record, thanks.
Hello, my name is Phyllis Federici. I'm a town of Hempstead resident for 29 years. I have come here tonight to talk about Christy Fonte and the animal shelter. 5 volunteers plus myself met with Charlie Malone on Monday, January 16th, after he reached out to one of our volunteers after some of us sent emails to the members of the board. He wanted to have a meeting with us. We thought, being as he is the liaison between the shelter and the town board, he would help us. He said he would bring our concerns to you, as you were not only his immediate boss, Mr. Clavin, but his personal friend of 20 years. Well, it's been 8 days, and we have not heard from Charlie. So here we are. Christy has been doing her job at the shelter for 6 years, as a consultant at first, and then as a part-time employee. She has had to wear a bulletproof vest every day due to the constant vicious attacks by the leader of a very small group of people with loud, relentless voices. Still, she came to work every day and worked with the staff to take care of the dogs. Her passion is the dogs. She has the qualifications. She has been doing the job for 6 years. Why? Why is she not the full-time trainer? Is it because of the leader of this very little group of people? Little groups of people get taken over by larger groups of people every day. Placate one, anger many. So to sum this up, a very passionate animal lover started a petition to you, Mr. Clavin, asking you to reinstate Christy. As of right now, we have over 3,000 signatures. 3,000 signatures in January could equal a lot of votes in November. According to the patch, you only won your last election by 1,365 votes. And one of the candidates who ran in that election only got 1,270 votes. Numbers don't lie. I think I'll end my story with that, but I do want to put on the record that this is the petition, and it's got 3 pages of comments that the board may want to read, because this is what the people are saying, not what you are hearing from certain individuals. Thank you for your time, and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, I have Danielle Guzzarato. How you doing? If you give your name and address, thanks.
Danielle Guzzardo, North Belmore. This photo is of Blue. He currently resides in Kennel 3 at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. As a longtime volunteer at the shelter, I spend my free time with Blue, training him, getting him fresh air, exercise, while helping him learn to trust humans. Months ago, I decided that Blue has been there for far too long and wanted to proceed with fostering him. But with a behaviorally challenged dog like Blue, that's no easy task. That is where I turned to Christy Fonte. Recognizing the challenges of this, she didn't back down. Christy herself put the time into working with Blue one-on-one, gaining his trust, and for the past several months, slowly acclimating Blue with my family dog. She helped educate me on the strategies of bringing Blue into my home safely. We were in the process of bonding Blue with my family when she was forced to resign by you, Supervisor Clavin. Now Blue will sit in the shelter using up taxpayer dollars instead of being in my home. Blue and countless other dogs will suffer due to your cowardness to catering to one member of the public and her demands that take into consideration personal vendettas over the welfare of animals. You have allowed this citizen to have an oversight in government decisions, which alone is mind-blowing, but now, just to slap it in our faces, you are again wasting tax dollars to pay your friend Charlie Malone to be her personal lackey, escorting her around the shelter. I'm not going to stand here under the delusion that you care at all about the animals. It's obvious that the animals at the shelter are nothing more than props for your photo ops. But now, by taking a dedicated, hardworking person like Christy Fanti from her role at the shelter just to appease one member of the public has enraged our community. Charlie Malone has stated that you, Supervisor Clavin, was the reason Christy Fanti has never been given a full-time position due to the demands that you are catering to from one person. Now you need to bring her back. Maybe the dogs of the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter are not registered voters, but I am, as are the purple shirts sitting here with me today. Our emotions are tied to the well-being of these animals who have no other voice but ours. Granted, the person you are catering to has a very loud one, but our voice will be louder as a collective group. Supervisor Clavin, this photo of Blue, I'm submitting it to you as a reminder of what you did to Blue and the other animals that will suffer from your actions. Help Blue and the other animals, or more important to you, save wasted tax dollars and save this board from having to listen to our protests that will not stop until you bring back Christy Fanti. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Next I have Melissa Jaffe. How you doing? If you give your name and address to the record, thanks.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank my friends and family.
If you just give your name and address to the record. Thanks.
My name is Melissa Jaffe. I'm a Merrick tax-paying voting resident for almost 28 years. I have strong ties to my community. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my friends and family for watching via live stream. I am an involved, proud volunteer of Team Purple. A voice is a powerful tool, and as humans, we cannot accomplish anything by keeping quiet. While Supervisor Clavin and town board members, we the volunteers have stayed quiet way too long. Well, actually, since 2019 was the last time I spoke out for an injustice, and County Executive Bruce Blakeman was extremely helpful. I think this board has forgotten what was said at that very long board meeting. Tonight I will not rehash. I am here today to find out why Christy Fanti was not offered full-time. Although we were told the answer that a taxpayer has it out for her so badly that you will not put Christy's name on a resolution. Let me ask you this, has Christy done something so horrible? Has she committed some act that you didn't offer her full-time? I would have to say no, because you offered her a full-time desk position. You thought you could get rid of the situation by offering her all the bells and whistles by sitting at a desk. She is a competent dog trainer, so much so she has saved the town and taxpayers thousands in dismissed lawsuits. Her extensive knowledge was the reason these cases were dismissed. Isn't that the truth? The volunteers sent numerous emails where none of them were responded to. Why? Do you just pay attention to one taxpayer? Supervisor Clavin, you have a secretary that earns $136,000 a year. Why didn't she respond? Something, anything would have been better than silence. When the volunteers had a meeting with Charles Malone 1 week ago, his main concern was that his wife, your secretary, was reading our emails and that she was upset. Seriously? That's what she's upset about. By the way, he promised to get back to us within 48 hours. We're still waiting. We now know he is your longtime friend who you gave a $50 an hour position to. Why? What is he doing? Why do we need a liaison? And again, since we are still waiting for a response, is that what a liaison does? Listen and doesn't get back to you? We know that he was the director of the shelter, and we also know how that ended. We have the foils from 2003 to 2010. We are expecting more foils. We will not allow this shelter to go backwards, and that's exactly where we are headed if you do not stop this madness. Team Purple has a voice. We have a vast reach into the town of Hempstead. We all come from different towns with contacts in our religious affiliations, schools, neighbors, sporting teams, just to name a few. Please help us, Supervisor Clavin and board members, to get our shelter back on track. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next I have Cynthia Exless, but you said no, you didn't want to speak. Might be in the back. Okay. Next we're going to have Emil Varani. Emil. Hey, Mr. Varani, if you give your name and address for the record, thanks.
Emil Varani, 65 Edgeworth Street, Valley Stream. Mr. Supervisor, when you came into office, you claimed on News 12 that there's no Republican machine in the town of Hempstead, but your actions dictate the opposite. You hired the son of Valley Stream Village Trustee and Nassau OTP Executive Director John Tuffarelli. You hired the son of Valley Stream Village Justice Robert Bogle. You put Barbara DeGrace on the Housing Commission without listing any examples of her experience. You cited empty examples of her constituent services, but nothing specific because her resume is just public relations and being the wife of the current Republican leader of Valley Stream. It makes me wonder, do you have any friends who don't have village, town, or county jobs? Furthermore, you continue to bombast town residents with mailers, passport pictures, when most residents live near post offices, which are far more convenient for photos, and even sent out Anthony D'Esposito mailers about Narcan training to non-residents who don't even live in his district. It's no wonder why this town has a $53 million deficit. And it goes to show why you don't want a fair redistricting process. You don't want fair and equitable representation because that would be against the same Republican machine that controls you. And furthermore, the redistricting process has been a sham. There's been no social media posts, and the fact that the map makers weren't at the work session and still probably won't be here at the future meetings is disgraceful. And I hope that the town of Hempstead board members will make the right decision and grant more equitable maps to residents like the residents of Valley Stream and Elmont who are disenfranchised under the current maps. However, knowing the Republican machine, it's likely that you'll go to court for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Ray. Next I have Melania Montgomery. Okay, she could be in the back. Barbara Porras. Okay, Daria Palava. Emil Palava. I have Charlene Thompson. Hey, Charlene, how are you? Good. All right, if you give me a name and address, how you doing? All right.
Supervisor, Deputy Supervisor, Council members. So my name is Charlene Thompson. I've been a resident of the town of Hempstead for 56 years. I've lived in Roosevelt, Freeport, the village of Hempstead, Uniondale. I'm a graduate of Uniondale High School, and after I went off to William & Mary College and then Howard University Law School, I decided to settle in Baldwin. I've had the privilege of working in county government for 8 years, and then village government as commissioner of the CDA in the Incorporated Village of Hempstead for 4 years. And I've served my community in many capacities in various community positions and leadership roles. Today, I want to come before you to talk about the redistricting process, specifically talking about my hometown, Uniondale, and the segregation of Uniondale. So as we go forward and look at the redistricting maps, right now there is a proposal that Uniondale will be divided, segregating the commercial district from the residential portion. And I would caution, ask the town board to consider this very cautiously as they look at how Uniondale may be divided in these districts, because historically, you know, I've been a student of politics and government and understanding the interplay of political dollars in communities and how government, the role government has played in reshaping our communities. Grew up in Roosevelt, Pathmark, movie theater, your roller skating rink was wiped out to create Valdua Court. A central part of our commercial base was gone, and then the burden, tax burden, was then shifted to the residents. And so when we look at shifting or segregating, I'll call it segregating, the central commercial business district in Uniondale, taking the voice away from very active civics in Uniondale by creating this new district and aligning all of these. I think Elmont is going to, the race track is going to be in there along with Roosevelt Field, and Jeopardy already got it wrong, calling it East Garden City. So let me tell you what I envision happening. We create this new district, the centralized business district, partitioning Uniondale, and you'll get a new representative in there. And then you'll have the more affluent residents in that area advocate for a new designated census district and have that called East Garden City. Taking the dialogue and the conversation away from the people who have lived there and grown that community for decades. So I would caution you and ask you to take in sincere consideration when you draw the redistricting lines, not to segregate and take away Uniondale's voice with respect to one of its greatest assets, the Central Business District. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ms. Thompson. I now have Dawn Beach. Okay. Ms. Vandenberg? No? Okay. I don't have any other slips. I'm going to ask that. Okay, I'll get to you. Ms. Meredith, please go up to the mic. That'd be great. I would ask somebody to go to the back and ask them if the residents want to. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that very much.
Meta J. Meredith Baldwin, resident, born and raised in Roosevelt. Just a point of correction. Someone advised a resident with regard to, I believe they lived in Rockville Center, about Nassau County. Howard Coppell is the Nassau County legislator who covers Rockville Center, not Kavan Abrahams. So,
No, but I think they were talking about the Lakeview on the west side. She was talking about where the repair
Lakeview
shops are, and the
Lakeview
deputy
Philibino.
Supervisor thought it was, you thought it was Kavan? We'll check.
Lakeview is Silabino. Either way, wrong thing. But again, you know, Town of Hempstead, which is in Nassau County, which I used to think was part of the United States of America, but now I'm truly beginning to wonder. I'm concerned, Supervisor Clavin, that residents who are already underrepresented in the South Shore now, since, you know, that great map that your town attorney continues to say was, you know, the challenge was defeated, we became pretty much the poster child, and again, with the embarrassment that has now been brought upon us with the 3rd District lack of credentialing, and the joke is, how many people does it take to review candidates in Nassau County? I guess it's 0. But we need to take a stronger hand with regard to this map, and maybe if we can use some of that advertising dollar that we talked about. I got 4 mailings for the mulch process, 4 of them, four colored versions of the compost and mulching, when I could have used 1 mailing with regard to this redistricting, which is all important. You know, let's start there. And again, we're hoping, because we're in contention in the county, we're in contention with the town. So since you probably may have heard from 1 or 2 people with regard to that, let's hope that you're now having a conversation with the presiding officer who said on the record that he called you about the date dispute. Again, it's on the record. You know, I was there when it happened. It's on the record. We're paying high-paid stenographers around here, so it's definitely on the record, that he called you about making a change when it was brought to his attention. So hopefully, as you're trying to figure out dates to let residents know, it seems that this February 7th is also the date of a actual board meeting for the town. So you're going to have a hot hearing in the first part, and then when residents show up, you're going to delay it for 2 weeks when residents aren't here, and then the board is going to bring it up because you're going to table it on the 7th, and then you're going to bring it up 2 weeks later when nobody's here because they have to work to pay these high taxes, and then vote it in. Is that how it's going to be? Again, I know you're not answering any questions, but I just want to make sure that it's on somebody's record, somebody's streaming this, somebody's taping this, because residents need to know, because these maps have to be done by the end of February. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meriday. Mr. Bacacci? How you doing? If you give your name and address, great.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. The town's recent passport mailing, as usual, does not inform residents that most post offices provide the exact same services. For most residents, their local post office is closer to their home, and they're able to make their appointment online. Some post offices even have Sunday appointments. If Supervisor Clavin was really interested in helping people, as stated on the mailing, the town's passport mailings would provide this useful information to residents. The town's passport mailing is also fiscally irresponsible and environmentally unfriendly. Clavin touts clean energy projects, but when it comes to maintaining his name recognition, Clavin couldn't care less about the environment, fiscal responsibility, or providing comprehensive information to residents. A typical town-wide mailing costs about $60,000 and requires about 5,000 pounds of paper. Even if 500 residents attend the town's February 11th Passport Day, the taxpayer cost per application would be about $120. The money Clavin wastes on this and other self-promotional mailings could be better spent on a tree pruning program or fixing the town's roads. Residents should expect all politicians to tell the truth. And the truth is, Clavin is more concerned with his name recognition and his popularity than the environment or being fiscally responsible. At the last town board meeting, Comptroller Mastro Marino said there was no COVID-19 committee. At the November 16th, 2021 town board meeting, Supervisor Clavin said there was a COVID-19 committee, and Comptroller Mastro Marino was on that committee. If you search through the town board resolutions, you will notice that the phrase, "whereas the town board has created a COVID-19 committee," appears over 50 times. Residents should expect Don Clavin to tell the truth and not embellish himself by adding false statements to town resolutions and town mailings. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bacacci. I know our residents, you didn't sign in, you want to be heard? Yeah, absolutely. Go up to, just give your name and address. Thanks.
Dan Cariciolo, my pronouns are he, him, 8 Williamson Street, East Rockaway, New York. Just to kind of reinforce the lack of communication regarding the redistricting committee, I'd like to bring something up to everyone, including the board. There is a Facebook post that's currently sponsored that states Hempstead Town Supervisor Don Clavin joined local supervisors, Supervisor Jennifer DeSanza and Supervisor Joe Salentino to stand against Governor Kathy Hochul's expanded high-density housing plan for Long Island, and there's 2 links. And there's a really nice picture here about Save Our Suburbs. Save Our Suburbs is then a link to a change.org, which happens to be at the top of the Town of Hempstead's website. There are 592 engagements, 293 comments, 161 shares. There isn't a single Facebook post regarding the districting and the redistricting of our Town of Hempstead. You are spending taxpayer dollars by sponsoring Facebook ads to drive a Republican-based ideal that we might lose a zoning board with a 3% density in Kathy Hochul's proposal. So we are outlining a division here in this town because we cannot look at equitable representation without communicating. When the libraries are getting the meeting times 12 hours before the actual meeting, we are doing an injustice to our overall community and township. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Carciello. Thank you very much. I know a number of our residents came back in from Merrick, and I know that, Lori, we heard from you, and I was calling out, Joe, Carol, Brodsky. Did we hear from you, Carol? Did you want to? Okay.
Hi, my name is Joe Carol Brodsky. I live in Merrick. Right before this, a few of us spoke with the Parks Commissioner. He was very helpful in helping us resolve the safety issue at the John Street Park. But we were also directed that we would probably have to have one-on-ones with Councilman Carini. but since we're here, we thought that we would get all the board members' ears. Once again, is in reference to John Street Park. This is a plot of land that has basically become a community center for many of us in Merrick, especially starting with COVID. So what's happening now is a few of the neighbors who live right there have been complaining about the dogs. And as I said, the safety issue will be resolved. But, you know, I'm going to quote Supervisor Bosworth, well, then Supervisor Bosworth, when she put in place a new program in the town of North Hempstead, which I feel strongly that the town of Hempstead needs to adopt. As she said, they need to do something to make it convenient for dog owners and make it compatible for those who don't have dogs. The town of North Hempstead took 3 parks, not dog parks, 3 parks, and they now allow dogs in them, as long as the dogs are leashed, with a human, and cleaned up afterwards. Why can't we do something like that here? I respect my neighbors in that, you know, the early hours of people going in there can be disruptive. So why can't we find a compromise? Why can't the town of Hempstead come up with something that could, say, start at 10 o'clock? Something that makes everybody happy. Because we're neighbors, we're a community, we all have to think of each other. But both sides of the coin, the dog owners and the non-dog owners. Then Supervisor Bosworth, back in 2015, started this as a pilot in 3 parks, and it was so effective and so well taken that it has stayed that way, once again, since 2015. So I don't know what we need to do to get this started, but in today's day and age, as we see when we go to malls, when we go anywhere, life has changed. You know, dogs just are factors of everything. As Lori said earlier,
Can I
you know,
ask you a
it
quick
relates
question?
to mental health.
What they're doing in North Hempstead, you're saying, is they open up these parks, these
There
3
are
parks
3
for
parks.
certain hours?
There were 3 parks, Mary Jane Davies Green in Manhasset, Michael J. Tully Park in New Hyde Park, and the North Hempstead Beach Park in Port Washington. Those are 3 parks that allow dogs now, as long as, once again, leashed with a human being and cleaned up afterwards. Why can't the town of Hempstead view something
Listen,
like that?
it's funny, I'm a big fan of Judy. You know, Judy, I talked to her last week. I'm happy to reach out with the Councilman Crean. And just so you know, in the last couple of years, we've actually opened up a number of dog runs throughout the town, because, you know, I take my dog Brady out. I like to go to dog runs.
This is like a...
No, and I get what you're saying. I'm happy to reach out to Judy to talk about the program, and Chris is great. He can talk to you. Maybe there's a happy medium, but you're right. It's a great start. You know, Chris is a great councilman, very involved with it. And like I said, if we can find a happy medium, sorry, Frank's a good guy. He's a good parks commissioner. You know what? If maybe Chris wants to direct that you coordinate, you know, a meeting with somebody from his staff. And Chris, I don't want to jump onto that. What do you think?
Can you guys stick around for like 5 minutes after the meeting? Us, your group, and Frank will go to the back for a couple minutes, and we'll have a discussion. We'll see what we can do. Obviously, we're going to have to speak amongst all of us, because I think the issue here is there was a liability factor. Am I correct? That's the reason why.
Well,
and listen, maybe there's a happy medium.
the leash, if we keep them on a leash, perhaps.
Well,
No,
maybe
that's what I'm saying.
there's
Like,
a
you know,
possible
he's
medium.
right. He's like,
We'll go in the back, we'll discuss it, we'll see, we'll talk with the town attorneys, maybe there's a pilot program, possibly, I have to see, but if you can stick around for about 5 minutes after the meeting, grab your group, we'll grab Frank, we'll go to the back, okay?
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I have, this guy's talking about insurance policies. I have Lee Brodsky. Okay, I got you. Melissa talked earlier. Did Barbara Porras talk earlier? Okay, that's fine. Did Daria talk earlier? Daria want to talk? Okay. No? Same thing? Gotcha. And then I have Emil. Did you want to talk? No? Okay. That's all the slips I have. Is there anybody that did not sign in or has not already spoken that want to be heard? If not, I will tell everybody thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. And for those residents in Merrick, if you go in the back and Councilman Macarini will facilitate a meeting. Thank you all very, very much.